So I was born in Oakland. It's located in Northern California in the Bay Area, right across the bridge from San Francisco. Oakland is known for a few things, ranging from sports, turf gangs, political riots, and especially for being one of the most dangerous cities in the United States.
Swim toward San Francisco!
I'm not made of money. We'll swim to Oakland.
And I always admired San Fran for that. And today I realized how you did it. Put all the niggas on the other side of that bridge. There's nothing, this shit ain't happy on that side. You leave San Francisco like, bye, thanks for coming to San Francisco. Come back in April, we're having a sale on Birkenstocks. As soon as you get to the other side, welcome to Oakland, bitch. Click, click.
Now that you're better acquainted with the city I grew up in, I'd like to talk about something that no one really talks about. Oakland's Chinatown. This is where I grew up. For 7 years, I attended a local Chinese school. Every Sunday, I would go there to eat dim sum, and occasionally go buy groceries with my mom. Chinatown was basically my home away from home, which is why I chose to find out more about it. I went online and typed in Oakland's Chinatown history, and the first website that appeared included a brief history of Oakland, California's Chinatown by William Wong, author of this book, Oakland's Chinatown.
Yeah, my name is William Wong. That's what I write under, but people call me Bill. Mm-hmm. But my real Chinese name is Ji Wa Kiang, which is the Hoi San Wa. Mm-hmm. My family is a Ji family. Chinatown really basically was at 2 or 3 different places in over a 20, 30, 40 year period. Oakland started to expand. The Chinese began filling in certain spots. And about the 1870s, or roughly then, they settled at 8th and Webster, which is today the heart of Oakland's Chinatown. It started roughly in the early 1850s, right after the gold rush. And a lot of Chinese were coming over from the Pearl River Delta region, Greater Hong Kong, Guangdong province. Mm-hmm. They had heard about the discovery of gold in the Sacramento Hills, and the natural port of entry was San Francisco, which is right across the bay. San Francisco was a nothing place either, so both Oakland and San Francisco really didn't exist as cities until the gold rush. Chinatown really began to change after the 1906 San Francisco earthquake and fire. Mm-hmm. Because the earthquake and fire in San Francisco really destroyed a lot of property, displaced a lot of people, including the Chinese in San Francisco. That was the big deal. San Francisco was the mothership of Chinatowns in the 1800s. So as a result, thousands of Chinese came over here, and eventually, as San Francisco began to recover, some of them went back, but some of them also settled here, which really increased the Oakland Chinese population after 1906. A small little community in Oakland's Chinatown really began to develop an infrastructure, so it was sort of an insular community in the sense that there was very little contact with the white Oakland community. But, you know, white Oakland establishment didn't really pay attention to Chinatown except perhaps for gambling purposes, maybe to come for some good cheap eats, that kind of stuff. But the Chinese in Chinatown really developed an inside community. And then World War II was a very important event for Oakland's Chinatown because shipyards were built about 6 blocks away from here. because this was the big war effort right along the harbor. Shipyards were built in Richmond, which is a city about 20 minutes up the coast from here. So the Chinese played a part in working in the shipyards, but more importantly, in a way, all these shipyard workers who were not Asian by any means, but who were white and black, came in from all over the country to get these military jobs, and found Chinatown as the place to, you know, get good food, get haircuts, and gamble a little bit. So as a result, Chinatown's economy during World War II really improved. And from that point on, in the 1950s, Chinatown really went into kind of a comatose state, I would call it. Business was never as good as it was during World War II. So Chinatown was really teetering on, you know, I wouldn't say it was ever endangered of dying, but it was very kind of depressed in the 1950s.
At this point in the interview, I began to realize I knew very little of what I called home. And I bet the majority of my friends and family who also grew up in Chinatown knew just as much as I did.
I also know that in doing my book and having written about and being a person who thinks a lot about Oakland Chinatown, there are a surprising number of people who don't know that Chinatown is here. You know, there's no question that people know San Francisco's Chinatown because it's such a kind of a tourist attraction, and it's been subjects of bad Hollywood films, and so there's a knowledge of San Francisco's Chinatown. But Oakland Chinatown is much more low profile.
Yeah.
But it's also known, I think people who know Oakland's Chinatown will know it to be much more authentic, is not the quite, because San Francisco's got a lot of authenticity too. San Francisco has that tourist reputation.
Yeah.
You know, the cheap goods on Grand Avenue, all those shops. Oakland doesn't have anything like that at all. I mean, San Francisco is really a living Chinatown also. But Oakland is really a living, working Chinatown, and it kind of reflects the persona of the city. And Oakland is a very working class, gritty, unpretentious place. And I think Oakland's Chinatown has that reputation, and some people really like that it's not Hollywood, you know, like the LA Chinatown, kind of a movie set part of it, right? And Oakland's Chinatown is filled with some families and, you know, working class people. There's really a wide range of Chinese in the United States now. But Chinatown today really is still very lively and vibrant with more of the working class Chinese. You know, if you've lived here before recently, if you visit here, you'll know that it's a pretty darn busy place.